Voting is a civic duty. Let's register on the electoral list. This is a message from Equinoxe Television.
Good evening to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the news tonight. Our major stories this evening. Gendarmes in the Douala 2 subdivision have arrested 2 armed robbers who attacked a mobile money kiosk at the Citesik neighborhood here in the economic capital that was in broad daylight. The bandits came on board a motorbike and collected at gunpoint a huge amount of money from the mobile money kiosk operator. They were later arrested following a fast tip-off from commercial bike riders around. We will be telling you more about this Hollywood-starred robbery in Douala in this news edition. Plus, as the presidential election approaches in Cameroon, the candidacy of Professor Maurice Kamto is at the center of many debates, while detractors think his chances are very slim after boycotting previous elections. Professor Abao Yono on his part insists Professor Maurice Kamto has almost 100% chances of going in for the elections, and debates on his candidacy are uncalled for. And also in this edition, the National Day will be celebrated on May 20 in Cameroon. We will be discussing on this union, which has as well been at the center of debate in the country. A unity village was today officially opened by the governor of the Littoral region. Viewers, those are our lead stories. Details when we come back. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. Elements of the Douala 2 Gendarmerie Company have presented to the public 2 bandits who robbed business persons in broad daylight that was on Tuesday at Ange Raphael and engaged in a bloody fire confrontation with the gendarmes, sowing panic in the Bepanda neighborhood and its environs, also at Citesik. There were 3 of them, 1 shot and hospitalized, succumbed to the bullet wounds. A man who tried to hide the other bandits was also arrested as an accomplice and also presented at the Littoral Gendarmerie Legion in Bonanjo. Innocent Ase tells us more.
Cyprien alias Vitesse and Alain alias Lafrappe, 28 and 29 years of age respectively, are 2 of the 3 suspected armed bandits who spread panic wave in the Bepanda Omnisport neighborhood Douala and its environs on May 13 when they opened fire on gendarmes who were after them following series of broad daylight robberies at filling stations.
À 3 heures du matin,
they arrived at filling station early in the morning on 3 motorbikes pretending to be clients and held 2 of the attendants at gunpoint, collected money on them and ransacked the cashier's office and fruitlessly vandalized the safe before leaving. Money transfer kiosks. She was in the kiosk at Nouvelle Route Cité with her boss when the bandits arrived and asked who owned a bike stationed outside. They landed on his owner and they showed him a gun. Everyone around thought they were policemen when they fired shots in the air. The man released himself from them and escaped while the onlookers dispersed. They then got into her kiosk and collected her 2 business phones with the sum of close to 2 million francs CFA. In the course of the intense shooting with the gendarmes, one who was shot succumbed to injuries in the hospital.
Un gendarme a pu atteindre le nommé Garga ou Marou.
Cyprien and Alain sustained injuries but managed to escape to the home of an accomplice for refuge where they were still fished out. A bike rider, among others, who aided gendarmes to neutralize the suspected thieves, was injured by a bullet and currently hospitalized.
Il est pris en charge actuellement par la gendarmerie au niveau de l'hôpital de district de Dedo.
Apart from their arrest, the gendarmes also seized 2 automatic pistols and 2 machetes used by the suspected bandits to operate.
Alors, ce gant de bras.
We were signaled they were operating at Ange Raphael on Tuesday, heavily armed Our men deployed all over succeeded to neutralize them in Bepanda and seize the pistols and machetes. The gendarmerie officials assured the population are in absolute security and should keep collaborating with them for their maximum security. We also thank the motorbike riders for their laudable assistance in this operation. Witnesses who say witnessed live an action movie and also victims of the armed gang hailed the professionalism of the gendarmes.
Thank you, Innocent Aze. Still on insecurity, an operation launched by Kimesu Valentine, commander of the Mbaramayo Gendarmerie Company, led to the arrest of 6 persons aged between 17 and 20 suspected of hard drug trafficking. The suspects were apprehended in a room in Mbaramayo in possession of hard drugs. Cedric Chakutu has the details.
6 individuals aged between 17 and 20-year-old were apprehended by elements of the Mbaramayo Gendarmerie Company in the central region of the country. They were caught in possession of hard drugs and fake banknotes.
We went out for a patrol and they gave us an information, so we went there with some elements and some quarter heads that gave us some information, and we went there and we caught this guy that we picked up like this with marijuana, fake banknotes that they are using.
The raid, keenly headed by the Mbaramayo Gendarmerie Company commander, led them to an individual of 17-year-old who was the main dealer of the gang.
Those things are very dangerous. They are coming out from the man's house. The guy that is dealing with marijuana, we saw fake banknotes and all the likes that they are using.
This operation revealed other accomplices in the capital city, Yaoundé.
Ces dealers ici à Mbaramayo ont des contacts serrés avec des dealers qui sont recherchés du côté de la briqueterie et de Chinga et Lobby à Yaoundé.
The suspect will be brought in front of the Yaoundé Military Court for further investigations.
Now in politics, Professor Maurice Kamto, leader of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political party, is set to participate in the upcoming presidential election. However, his candidacy has been questioned due to his party's boycott of previous elections in the country. Reputed university lecturer Professor Jean-Calvin Abba Oyono, a constitutional law expert, has weighed in on the debate. He says there is no constitutional provision to block Maurice Kamto's candidacy. For me, Armstrong Sanda reports.
A recent media serial in Cameroon has sparked intense debates about the concept of imperative mandate in the constitutional law. The debate centers around the role of elected representatives and the extent of their accountability to the electorate. According to Professor Abba Oyono, the Constitution of Cameroon is clear on the matter. Article 2 sub 1 states that national sovereignty belongs to the people, and Article 15 sub 2 says that each deputy represents the entire nation. This provision suggests that the Constitution has instituted a representative mandate where elected representatives have a duty to act in the best interest of the nation. Professor Abba Oyono argues that there is no legal barrier to prevent Professor Maurice Kamto from participating in the presidential election. He cites the principle of nemo dito, which states that no one can take advantage of their wrongdoing. In this case, the authorities cannot use their own errors or fault to disqualify Professor Maurice Kamto. As the debate intensifies in Cameroon, some have argued that Article 121 of the Electoral Code, which requires a political party to have representation in the National Assembly to present a candidate for the presidential election, bars Professor Maurice Kamto from participating. However, Professor Abba Oyono contends that the provision is unconstitutional and cannot be used to block Professor Maurice Kamto's candidacy. Observers, however, say that based on the constitutional provisions and the legal principles cited by Professor Abba Oyono, it appears that Professor Maurice Kamto has a strong case for participating in the upcoming presidential election in Cameroon. They say authorities would then need to demonstrate a clear legal basis for disqualifying him, which according to Professor Abba Oyono is clearly lacking in this case.
Now let's talk something else. In prelude to the National Day celebration that will be on May 20, in Cameroon, public officials have re-echoed the importance of national unity, social justice and national integration, which they believe is a reality in Cameroon. This was during the launch of activities in the Indian division ahead of the May 20 celebrations in the southwest, and also at the Unity Village in Douala. A public opening day was organized by the military here in the economic capital. Mala Glory was there.
Despite political crisis affecting the country's stability, public officials hold that there is need to promote unity, which is one of the main reasons for National Day celebration in Cameroon. A day to go down memory lane on the country's colonization, separation, reunification, the referendum of 1961, and the adoption of May 20th as National Day. In prelude to the 20th May celebration, a public open-door day was launched in Douala under the supervision of the governor of the littoral region, describing it as the Unity Village. Several military units presented their activities to the public.
National integration is a reality in the regional region. We can see military and civil together in a space promoting living together.
Colonel Adequenti Hilary, head of the Cameroon Navy, after the presentation of their different departments, says despite challenges they face, they have the capacity to guarantee the country's security.
The know-how, the professionalism, the spirit of resilience and cohesion of our men are able to overcome these challenges.
Aside the military, different ministerial departments and other public institutions were present.
Nous sommes ici justement à la faveur de cette autre foire qui annonce les couleurs d'une semaine de l'unité.
The youth will bring 10% of his project and the government will give 20%.
And in the southwest region, precisely in Dian Division, the senior divisional officer Gilbert Gibai Baldena led the preparation of the 53rd celebration of the National Day, emphasizing on national unity.
The exorbitant cost of operating federal institutions and the urgent need to strengthen national unity.
Now let's take some news out of Cameroon. Mali suspends TV segment over alleged bias in protest coverage. The Malian authorities have also dissolved political parties and banned public gatherings. Over to the US of A, President Donald Trump has promised financial assistance for illegal immigrants in the US who promise to leave voluntarily from his country. Our foreign page roundup with Immaculate Fogwe.
Mali's High Authority for Communication, HAC, has suspended broadcast of TV Monde, a French-language news channel on Malian territory. The decision, effective on May 13, follows a report aired on May 3rd, which the HAC deemed as being impartial and unbalanced. The report covered an opposition protest in Bamako, where demonstrators called for an end to the transition period. The HAC criticized the channel for allegedly defaming the armed and security forces and not presenting all sides of the story. The suspension follows a previous 3 months ban on TV Monde in 2024 and is part of a broader crackdown on foreign media, particularly French outlets in Mali. Meantime, Mali's junta has dissolved approximately 300 political parties in the country, citing ongoing reforms. Away from that, President Donald Trump's administration has launched Project Homecoming, a program aimed at encouraging undocumented immigrants to voluntarily leave the United States.
We're also adding a very important exit bonus for illegals to further incentivize their self-deportation. This deportation bonus will save American taxpayers billions and billions of dollars.
The program aims to reduce the estimated $150 billion annual cost of supporting undocumented immigrants and restore resources for American citizens. The administration expects to deploy 20,000 additional officers to enforce deportation, targeting those who don't depart voluntarily. And in other news, José Pepe Mujica, the former president of Uruguay, has passed away at 89, leaving behind a legacy of humility, integrity, and social justice. He died on May 13, 2025, after a long battle with cancer which had spread to his liver. Mujica's life was marked by his involvement in the Tupamaros National.
Meantime, Cameroon has been strengthening its cooperation ties with Israel. A group of Cameroonian authorities from the lower house of parliament is in Israel to work out new avenues of cooperation with the Israeli parliament as well. Babila Jonathan talked to the leader of the Cameroonian delegation to Israel, Honorable Njume Peter Abang, in Jerusalem, and here is an excerpt of what he said.
Yeah, we are here. First of all, we are three of us. I'm leading this delegation of three parliamentarians from Cameroon. We were invited here by Knesset because we have a parliamentary friendship group, Cameroon-Israel Parliamentary Friendship Group. So we were invited here by the Knesset for a working and friendly visit. So we're going to be here for 3 days, and we have already had some meetings, some very instrumental persons here in the Knesset, and of course the government. We were here yesterday with the Minister of Agriculture, and today again we are going to continue with the President, or rather the Speaker of the Knesset, and we are going to have discussions with other personalities. For us, it's a very, very important.
Now let's talk sports. The Indomitable Lions of Cameroon are expected to participate in a mini tournament next month in Morocco. But according to several posts on social media, head coach Mark Breeze says he has been left out in the arrangement by the federation. Our reporter Simanji Kangero talked to a football coach Clement Zeko and a sports analyst Nkeda Lawrence about the declaration of coach Mark Breeze and put together this report for the news.
With the upcoming FIFA window in the month of June 2025, it has been rumored that the senior men's football team will be involved in a mini tournament to be held in Morocco. The boys of Coach Mark Breeze are expected to clash with opponents like Burundi, Uganda, Equatorial Guinea, and host Morocco. For a football coach, Cameroon's opponent will show their true colors only on the pitch. We can't say yes because they don't have the same profile, but during the tournament, we can see if the two teams do resemble. It will be a chance for the coach to test other players. For a sports journalist, the opponents of Cameroon will play the same style of football like their next opponents come September.
Well, Cameroon is to face Eswatini. Would say that Uganda, although found in East Africa, it's a little bit closer to Eswatini, and they play quite the same African Anglo-Saxon football. And would say Cape Verde, in that same framework, facing Equatorial Guinea, will give us a touch, and is going to be a barometer of what we are going to expect in the upcoming games come September.
Unfortunately, weeks to the kickoff of the tournament, several sites on the social media platforms have published that the head coach of the senior men's team, Mark Breeze, says the federation didn't notify him officially to prepare for the mini tournament, bringing up another polemic. A football coach says the outing of Mark Breeze shouldn't be a surprise to Cameroonian, knowing well the current atmosphere in the FA. Normally, they were supposed to have a cordial relationship. If the technician also heard about the game on the social media, then it's not good.
It's rather unfortunate because getting friendlies has to be done in collaboration with the coach. And let's not forget that the federation is above everything. It's the federation first of all. And
thanks, Matt. And that sports report brings us to the end of the first part of the news. Let's now move on to talking points. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is KINANG Derrick. He is a jurist. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point tonight. Now we come back to this news, which has been shaking the nation for about 4 days now. The brutal killing of a 6-year-old Matisse, a 6-year-old boy whose name we got as Matisse, who was stabbed severely to death by the father's friend, after a fight between the two adults. And Mr. KINANG Derrick, you are, beside being a civil society activist, you are also a jurist. What's your reaction to this brutal killing of a 6-year-old child by a full grown-up man?
I want to say, the first thing I would like to say is my heartfelt condolence to the bereaved family and to state it clearly that I am saddened by this unfortunate incident, and I am in a state of total dissatisfaction as to what really happened, and believe there is the dire need for justice to take its course, because things like this are not supposed to happen in our society if it is a one in which people live by the respect for humanity. The little kid, a 6-year-old child Matisse, in my opinion, was full of lives and dreams and wanted to live a better life.
Can we say all this happened because of anger management? Because we were told, information we have from the scene tells us that it was after a fight with the victim's father that Mr. Dagobert Nwafo got into their house or their home and stabbed Matisse, 6-year-old, several times before he bled to death. Could it be an issue of anger management or revenge?
Personally, I don't think it's just about anger management or an issue of violence. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think it's a combination of both. We are coming across an individual who is faced with anger-related issues, and you discover that he goes in the direction of what Reverend Fomusa Sama calls the ability to come out of stress. So this individual in question, in my opinion, has issues related to the management of issues around stress, frustration, and the management of tension in front of him. And the reason why I can say it's poor management of anger. But I want to push it further to say there are certain persons that in as much as they are unable to manage stress, frustration, and their anger, they still find it very difficult at times to go to this extent of executing or using violence, and most specifically violence that leads to the loss of his.
Now, Mr. Derrick, Dr. Derrick, we know that the assassin's daughter is an artist, and there is this huge backlash on her, like she has to pay for the crime of her father. What can you say about that as a jurist?
Yeah, looking at information circulating on the rather saddening incident, we are made to understand the person in question, the supposed accused, is not doing this for the very first time. And you discover that this is something we need to decry. It comes to show how far our society has gone down in terms of lack of the rule of law, lack of morality and ethics in the society. There are quite a number of sanctions that await the individual in question. If you go by the Cameroonian Penal Code, precisely in its sections 275 that penalizes murder, we discover that if proven guilty, he risks having a sentence of life imprisonment. And if they go further, we can also confer sections 276, which talks about aggravated murder. If that be the case, then he risks being given a death penalty. But as of now, I am not the judge. I strongly believe we want to say, though it has already happened and the facts are there, we still go by presumption of innocence as of now. But these are some of the directions we can be taking, penalties that are targeted towards the individual in question.
There you are talking about the sanctions which await the perpetrator or the assassin. Let's come back to this issue. The assassin, Mr. Nwafo Dagobert, has a daughter who is a prominent artist in the country, and she seems to be paying with her career for the crime of her father. How can you analyze this as a jurist?
The issue as to associating his daughters rather to the murder incident comes to bring out some realities about our society, which is that of a society plagued by existing prejudice, what God in our books calls the nature of prejudice. People have already developed certain prejudices about communities, about individuals, and certain stereotypes that makes it very difficult for them to distance certain realities from others. Secondly, you want to take into consideration the fact that the individual in question, not citing her Lidon, is a popular figure. And when you are a popular figure in the 21st century where we talk about digitalization, it is the normal that you will become a victim of the social media judiciary, like I usually call it. she is already at the bar trying to defend herself because people have already condemned and sanctioned her for something she did not do. I would like to end by saying, in my own opinion, and I hold responsibility for that, it is not correct because criminal matters are individual. It is about the person who carried the act. I don't think Lido in any way, except proving otherwise. As of now, the information we have is that she is not in any way related to the actions of her dad. She is just rather unfortunate that she is the product of an individual that was unable to manage anger. And so, to me, it's really incorrect, unjust, and unfair to drag her the way I see people doing on social media and other classical media platforms.
It has been a very difficult pill for Cameroonians to swallow, and difficult too for Cameroonians to dissociate the daughter from the father's crime. Thank you so much, Dr. KINANG Derrick, for accepting to be our guest tonight on Talking Point. Just to let our viewers know that you are a jurist and you are speaking to us from Yaoundé. Viewers, that does it for this edition of the news. Thank you so much for always being with us. Our programs continue. Equinoxe comes up in about 35 minutes or so, and the news in the French language comes up at 8 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.